Today I'm breaking down the top mistakes that new mechanical engineers make, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. Starting out as a mechanical engineer is very exciting. There's new challenges, endless possibilities, and the chance to finally apply all that theory that you've been learning at university. But let me warn you, it's very easy to stumble upon common pitfalls and mistakes that make you question your entire career choices. So stick around because these tips could actually save you a ton of headaches down the line. Without further ado, let's get into the video right away. So one of the first mistakes that new mechanical engineers make is overcomplicating designs. You've just graduated, your head is packed with equations, advanced concepts, design principles. So you think, why not showcase all of that brilliance into this project? But here's the catch. Simpler is almost always better. Let me give you an example. Say you're designing a mechanism to lift a load. Instead of a complex gear system, maybe all you need is a simple, well-placed lever. Overcomplicated designs are harder to build, they cost more, and even are more prone to failure because every added component is a potential point of failure. So always aim for simplicity. The best designs are elegant, efficient, and just as complex as they need to be, nothing more. So before you start adding extra features in your design, ask yourself, what's the simplest way to get this done? Because trust me, your future self and your team will thank you. Now, the second mistake that new mechanical engineers make is designing without keeping practical constraints in mind. It's one thing to come up with a groundbreaking concept, but if your design isn't realistic, then it's pretty much worthless. Real-world engineering has boundaries like budget, material availability, manufacturing processes, and even time constraints. So a good mechanical engineer always works within these constraints. Before diving into the design, ask yourself these questions. What's the budget? What materials can I use? What's the timeline? If your design doesn't check all of these boxes, then go back to the drawing board. Because you gotta remember that your work has to fit into the real world. Like imagine you're designing a component for a manufacturing plant, and you specify tolerances that are unnecessarily tight, like 0.01 millimeters tolerance for a part that doesn't need that level of precision. Not only does that drive up machining costs, but also increases the risk of rejection during quality control. So you gotta ask yourself, what is the right level of precision for this part? Can this part be fabricated using standard methods? Always work within realistic constraints to avoid delays and unnecessary expenses. Mistake number 3 is neglecting documentation. Now, nobody likes documenting everything, but it's absolutely essential. When you neglect documentation, you're setting yourself and your team up for disaster. Imagine spending weeks designing and prototyping, and when something goes wrong, like a mismatched part, you realize you have no clear record of the design changes you made along the way. Good documentation isn't just about being organized. It's about creating a clear trail of your decisions that others and the future you can understand. Write detailed reports, label your CAD files properly, and keep an engineering journal and note down all your design input parameters. Because in the real world, projects can go into hold for up to 2 years as well. Like let's say if you design a mechanical system for a construction project, if the client doesn't have enough finances to fund the project, then it can go into hold for a very long time. And if you come back to this project after 2 years, you're most likely going to forget why you made certain design decisions. So it's very important to have all of that documented so that you can refer back to it later on. Simple things like naming your files descriptively, like the version number, the revision number, the date the file was amended. All of this can save you days, if not weeks, of headaches down the line. Think of it as investing in your future self's sanity. Now, mistake number 4 is focusing too much on theory. Now, theory is the backbone of mechanical engineering. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But here's the thing, theory is just one piece of the puzzle. A design that looks perfect in paper can fail spectacularly in practice. Why? Because guys, reality is messy. There's human error, material inconsistencies, weather conditions, and unforeseen variables. All of these can derail even the most precise calculations. So let me share with you guys an example of a recent project that I personally worked on. It was regarding an HVAC system installed in a swimming pool area. But the previous design had some serious issues. The previous engineers had calculated the cooling loads and the airflow perfectly, but they missed one critical detail: condensation management. You know, there's a lot of evaporation that occurs from the pool water itself in an indoor facility. So you need proper dehumidification methods to remove the excess moisture from the facility. And so the engineers in this facility didn't take into account the evaporation from the pool water. And because of that, the dehumidification capacity of the system was not sufficient enough for the very high humidity environments. This led to condensation forming on the cold surfaces of the duct, causing a lot of rusting and damaging the entire ductwork. So me and my team had to step in and rework the entire HVAC system from scratch because everything was damaged. So the main takeaway here is that while theoretical calculations are essential, always think about the real world conditions that your design will face. Because practical details can actually make or break a project. Now, mistake number 5 is not asking for help. When you're a new mechanical engineer, it's very tempting to try and prove yourself by figuring everything out on your own. But here's the truth, mechanical engineering is a team sport. No one expects you to know everything, and pretending otherwise can just lead to costly mistakes. I remember early on in my career, I was working on a project for designing a mechanical system in a building, and I struggled so much with a heat exchanger design. I remember I spent countless hours and so many days on trying to figure it out on my own and fixing the problem until I missed the deadline of submission as well. Finally, I gave up and I asked the senior mechanical engineer for advice. And guess what? He solved that problem in 5 minutes. Turns out he had faced the same issue many years ago. So had I asked him for advice from the beginning, I wouldn't have missed the deadline of submission. So the lesson here is that don't be shy or scared to ask for help. You know, your colleagues, your mentors, and even online communities are valuable resources. So don't hesitate to reach out. You know, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's actually a sign of wisdom. So there you have it, guys, the top mistakes that new mechanical engineers make and how to avoid them. Now guys, just know that mistakes are part of the learning process. So don't be disheartened by them. But by being aware of how to avoid them, it can put you miles ahead in your career. With that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because I'll be posting a lot more mechanical engineering videos that you don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.